I'm Dave from boyinaband.com, and welcome to day 6 of the 7-day song on Dance Pop, courtesy of Propellerhead Software's Music Making Month. Yesterday we talked about the vocal processing for the Dance Pop track, and today we'll look into how I've arranged it, take a quick look at the effects I've used, and then discuss the thinking behind my choice of progressions, rhythms, and melodies. Firstly, the arrangement then. Now, Reason and Record have this block mode, which is freaking useful when it comes to seeing the different arrangements of the tracks. As you can see, it's really clearly labelled, and it's really good for arranging it too, since you can copy and paste these. And I'll just go through what I've got in here. We've got a nice 8-bar intro to start with. Most of these sections are 8 bars. Verse, pre-chorus, chorus, a 4-bar break between the chorus and the verse in the same vein as the intro. Verse 2, pre-chorus 2, which is the same as the first pre-chorus. Then 2 choruses here, a 16-bar bridge, little 2-bar break there, thus 2 choruses, and then ending on the intro as the outro. Nice and ironic. So, join me in part 2 for... just kidding. Let's have a bit more of an in-depth look and see how the effects affect the effect of the sections. I've just used a redrum instance to add effects samples to the track. If we take a quick look. Redrum into this mixer up here with effects added to the auxiliary inputs. If you want to see a bit more of an in-depth example of how to set that up, take a look at any of the previous 7-day songs where I'll explain that. Now, the intro section, we zoom back in on that, is akin to the Lady Gaga style of dance pop. She has this awesome habit of having ridiculous hooks that end up being stuck in your head, and you'll often find they're quite minor sounding harmonies or just rapped. So, I went for an intro that's not too melodic with a repetitive and suitably lyrically dodgy hook. Without my consent. Which, for the record, Rachie came up with herself. Anyway, in Record or Reason, just drawing over a section that's put in by a block, just like this, mutes it out. And deleting it without my consent allows you to hear it again. And this is ideal for bringing in and out elements. As you can see, in the first 4 bars here, I don't know why this is in here, or this. I've got rid of the drums, just so it starts on that gated pad, and then bringing in the beat later, just to begin driving the track. Just like that. Building up sections like this is really important when making interesting pop music. Even if the intro is the same thing looped, introducing new elements or dropping out existing instruments is a great way to keep your listener engaged. And since your conventional target audience for this genre is probably 13-year-olds with rich parents and ADD, you really need to put every effort in to keep them engaged. So, effects-wise, if we scroll down, I've got a nice little boom to start the track here, along with this sweeping white noise, just so that synth isn't all alone there and the track sounds a bit more filled out. And then we've got a nice little reverse leading into the verse, without my consent, stopping dead as it comes in. Moving into the verse, we've got the same beat as the intro. Notice it's a little different to the chorus beat if we scroll up and have a look. I'll discuss it in part 2 for a little bit of rhythmical difference in this instance. The bass is introduced as well. If we go back to song mode, you can see the bass track comes in for the first time, and that gated lead drops out. It's good to try and keep one instrument vocal at a time. The pitch bend synth comes in between those bass notes as well. Keeping with the one synth sound at a time kind of thing. However, to fill it out, once again we have the effects to the rescue. I found this cool hollow reverby synth sample. That one there. And that's from the Prime Loops Razor Effects sample pack, which I use all the time because it's freaking useful. Link to grab that below. And since the lyrics change in the verse, I didn't feel the need to change any of the instrumentation. So, over to the pre-chorus, where I've got another effects sample added. Can you hear that one? If I mute out the hollow and solo it. A nice little blip that I was initially wondering, is that too cheesy? And then I realised I was making a dance pop song and snapped out of my moment of foolishness. If there's ever a genre you can get away with cheesy little sounds, this is it. But make sure they're accompanied by some sort of powerful element, be it synth, bass or beat. In this case, bass and beat. So I drop out the drums quickly at the end of the pre-chorus, so it hits harder when the chorus comes in there. And the first chorus is when we really start thinking about building the track. There's quite a few elements in the full version of the chorus. As you can see, I've muted out these 2. And this means I can just introduce them later to feel like the track is built up. The high synth, the weedy leady, is muted, and also our tambourine is muted as well. So we just have the lead, bass and beat, as well as that crash in effects sample right at the start there, and the reverse up to the quick intro section, which has a weird kind of bouncy effect, which I really thought was cool. And this time the intro has the beat all the way through it, just to keep it flowing. The white noise sweep, if we take a look at that, stops dead as the verse comes in, which makes it feel like the intro is kind of bringing the track back down again, which is quite a cool effect. Now the second verse is much the same as the first musically. There's a little alteration to the beat here for a little vocal stutter I added. I'm really proud of that. It's freaking cool if I do say so myself. Hey, if you don't like the music you make, why are you making it? Oh yeah, to make a horrendous amount of money. Fair enough. But I freaking adore dance pop, so I'm pretty lucky, I guess. Anyway, back to the pre-chorus. Again. And I thought that since the variation in the kind of ah vocals between the two different harmonies there kept it interesting enough not to warrant much variation, and then we're back into the chorus. This time, halfway through, the gloves come off and the tambourine and the little backing synth come in to fill it out a bit more. As you can see, no more muting, just so it has some kind of building feel. And again, the effects, there they are, just crashes and reverses. Now for the bridge. It's just a bass pad and this ARP as well, with the vocals on top. But to fill out the top end, we have this white noise sweep going through the whole thing. That's just peeking and saying hello. You'll start to notice a ton of these effects in pop music when you're actively aware of them. They really help filling out tracks with not too much in them, without taking too much focus. A really big explosive hit at the start there. Just starts the section. Then halfway through, I unmute the kick drum, and that just drives it, and it gives a kind of sidechain pumping sound to the white noise, which is also pretty cool. And that's caused by the horrendous overcompression of the track I've done in the mastering. You might want to be a bit less messy and do that with the sidechain compressor, but that's your call. Then we have a nice long reverse, here we are, into the tiny little intro section. And that builds up into this bit crushed effect, and then crashing back in. Now crush that with the Scream 4. Man, does that sound inappropriately metal at this time. And these two bars just add that tiny bit of unexpected tension before the final chorus, which is another technique you'll see time and again in pop songs. Linkin Park used to do that all the time too, back in the days of Hybrid Theory and Meteora. Simpler times. What? Oh yeah, the song. Right. Final chorus time. Introducing it with the tambourine this time, so it hits a bit harder, then bringing in the little backing synth later on, and that extra vocal harmony for the big finale, then crashing out into the intro, and then just letting this double clap finish it off. Marvellous. So, you have the choice whether or not to put in a Gaga style break section, and sometimes the verse and pre-chorus are the same kind of thing musically, and just the vocals will change, but this is pretty much the layout of every dance pop song. It's very formulaic, and for a reason. This maximizes the amount of catchy hooks you can fit into 3 to 3.5 minutes, which is the ideal radio playtime apparently. Not sure if there's any scientific or psychological reasoning behind that, but most radio stations seem to abide by it. And then remember not to neglect your effects. I've got tons in here. They really tie the song together, and it won't sound as filled out and pro without them. So, join me in part 2, where I'll go through the different choices of notes and rhythms in the track.